Property Patriot, you are cleared hot.
Good day, high flyer, and welcome back to the AMI podcast. I'm your host, Bud Evans. Today, I'm thrilled to have a conversation with Bob McIntosh. Bob's a seasoned real estate investor and a maestro in the realm of internet marketing. Bob has profound expertise and epitomizes the intersection of real estate and technology, which is one of my favorite things. Bob and his father dabbled into the world of real estate back in 2008, navigating through the tumultuous waters of a different real estate landscape. They began with flipping houses and gradually amassed a rental portfolio boasting 34 doors and counting. This journey, marked a meticulous strategizing and adept execution, brought Bob to the forefront of real estate investing. Here are my 3 takeaways from this episode. Real estate and technology fusion is a seamless blend of traditional real estate investing and the transformative power of technology. Don't forget about AI. Second is mastering internet marketing. Beyond bricks and mortar, Bob's prowess extends to internet marketing tailored specifically to real estate investors. Last is navigating technology in real estate with a background in ethical hacking and a love for technology. Bob demystifies the integration of digital tools in real estate. Join us today, where we provide real estate investors the tools to achieve generational wealth. This is the Aim High Podcast, show number 55. Good day, high flyers, and welcome to the Aim High Podcast. Today, I am joined by Bob McIntosh. Hello, Bob. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on. And for all of you checking in, listening, watching, I appreciate your time. It's very valuable, and I don't take it lightly.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, Get Out of Your Own Way podcast is awesome. I was very proud to be a guest on that. Now, I just got to ask you, I know you, you know me, but can you give me a quick intro for those who don't know you?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Bob McIntosh. It's spelled MC, no A in there. And I've been a real estate investor. My dad and I bought our first property back in 2008. So back when it was a very different game, I'll say. And flipped a bunch of houses since then, built a rental portfolio, not huge by any means, but we've got 34 doors and counting. And since then have been lucky enough to actually get very good at internet marketing for real estate investors, helping them drive more sellers, more credibility, more lenders, more agents, all of that good stuff. And we do that as an agency now called 3 Degrees Consulting that just helps focus investors there while also still doing real estate on the side. I just found my passion to be more in the internet side of things than the real estate side of things.
And you are like a brilliant connoisseur of anything integration, electronics, CRM style stuff, right?
Yeah, I do. I love technology stuff. So the short version is I graduated college, and for 6 years, my job was hacking banks. Legally, I should say. I should add that. And so I'm about as technical as it gets in this space. I know more than most people will probably forget, but I still love it. And so I try to bring that passion of technology and internet and all that into the real estate investing space. Because I know that, or I shouldn't say no. What I found, I should say, is that most investors understand how important technology is to their business and what it can do for them. They just don't always know where to implement, how to implement, where to start. And even if they know where to start, they're not sure how to keep it going or if they're doing the right thing, because sometimes technology can be intimidating. So I aim to make that as easy as possible for folks.
Yeah, man, especially today with AI and all these integrations and automations and workflows and everything that you can create. Like each program has 70 different things you can do with it. You pointed out to me the other day that I was using redundant systems while we were on your podcast. But there's one thing that aggravates me is paying twice for the same capabilities.
And it's very easy to do because more and more of these places are stacking things on. A lot of times it's just a matter of connecting to the right person who knows what's going on and saying, you can do all this here. And you go, oh man, okay, I can, I look at our CRM, for example, and the reality is if you use every capability in our system, you can replace almost $1,500 a month in other systems with one for $300 a month. But not everyone understands that. And sometimes they get overwhelmed when they think about that. But yeah, redundant things is a waste of time and money.
Yeah. And so essentially that's SaaS, right?
Yeah. So we run it as a software as a service. So it's a software, you access it online, you log in wherever you have internet, as long as you got a browser and internet, you're basically good to go. Because for me, at least, one of the big reasons why I like what we do now, even more so than real estate, obviously I still like real estate or I wouldn't be doing that, but is that there's a freedom of being able to do anywhere, right? If you can log in from anywhere in the world, as long as you have an internet and a computer and access all of the data for your business, all your contacts, all your opportunities, all the houses that you're looking at, working on, in process of closing, whatever it is, and you can communicate with everyone through your platform, then you're no longer bound to stay in your local market if you don't want to. And I know one of the things I've always found interesting is that I talk to a lot of real estate investors who are like, they look at me right now, they go, oh man, you're living the life. You travel, you're on the road constantly. Every single day you're on the road. I would love to do that. But, and then they insert some reason why they can't. And almost always that comes down to one of two things. It's usually either kids, which I totally get that. You can't, that's a different kind of thing. But number two is usually technology. It's, oh, I got to have this here, or I got to do this here, or it's something local. And the reality is COVID changed the game. It was already going that direction anyways. It just accelerated the process of us being able to do anything in our business online 24/7 remotely, even if we want to. Now, obviously, there's things you got to put in place. There's systems and tools and processes that you need to dial in before you do that. But it is possible if you do the right things the right way.
Yeah, and I love that. Listen, man, last year, in fact, to the day that we're recording this, October 9th, my wife and I were on a Greek cruise last year, and I was coaching students from the Greek Isles. So like you can do it from anywhere. Fantastic.
Right. That's amazing.
Yeah, man. It's a blast. Man, I usually go down the rabbit hole of, hey, what was your first deal? What was your worst deal? But knowing your family and knowing you, let's talk about the integrations with your system and how it helps a real estate investor actually get started, because the meat and potatoes of the things that we do as real estate investors, a lot of that has to do with the CRM and the capabilities that it allows us to have.
Yeah. And so when we look at that, the number one thing, and this is what I tell everyone, that we help you do better is your follow-up. Because the reality is, and I'm sure you've talked about this, and I'm sure other investors on this show have talked about this, some of your best deals are going to come not because you sent out marketing, but because you sent out marketing and then you sent it out again and then again, and you followed up, and then and eventually you got the deal. But the problem is that we all know that, right? If you're listening to this, probably know that you could be doing better with follow-up. But usually there's a couple blocks to that. Number one, you don't know how to, which is fair. Number two, you know how to, but you don't know what to say to follow up, act, and do it in a way that is the least time consuming as possible. Or number three, you're simply wasting time and money. You're not doing any follow up and you're just hoping that you're doing that. And look, that process, by the way, can still work. It's just not the most effective, right? As investors, if we're going to go out there and we're going to pay for leads, because that's what we're doing. Whether we're buying a list, whether we're scraping a list, we're paying for it with time. Like we're paying something to get these folks that want to sell their houses to us, or to find folks that want to lend to us, or to find agents who will bring us deals, or whoever we're dealing with in our business. There's either a time or money component in that. And the thing that I found, and part of the reason why we built our own CRM is that I said, hey, I realize that when I look at my business, the best deals almost always came from the greatest follow-up systems that we had in place. And then I said, what made them so great? Like how, or what made my follow-up so great? And honestly, the answer might surprise most folks. It's not because I'm some genius email copywriter. I would say maybe above average. I'm not like, look, there's definitely people who are great, way greater than I am. It's not because I wrote some amazing tech sequence. It's not because I found some great integration or tool. It's not because I built my own CRM. It's simply because I used an existing tool to implement automated follow-up on a longer scale time frame than anybody else. And so when we look at most of our follow-up sequences in our system right now, not all of them, but a lot of them, it's 14 plus touch points. 14. Right. Because the reality is, in today's market, you have to get in front of someone a lot more than you did before. I remember when we got started. I still remember this day. It was Marina Hauser was talking about direct mail marketing. And she was like, you need to send 7 letters. They're not going to respond unless you send at least 6 to 7 letters. And I remember in my mind going, that's a bunch of BS. You just want me to waste money on mail that I'm not going to send. I'll send one. And then look, guess what? I sent one. It didn't work. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay, maybe I should listen to my coach. And I started sending more. And then I realized, oh man, this is it. But that was what it was back in 2010, 11, 12. You could do 7 mail pieces or 7 any touch points and it would work. Now there's pros and cons, right? Because automation now exists. We have these tools that can automate follow-up. And by the way, when I say touch point, an email, a phone call, a text message, a Facebook post, could be a paid advertisement, could be a voicemail, like any sort of communication from your company to them. That's a touch point as far as I'm concerned. On average, it takes about 14 to move someone across the board for us. Now, what is that? Now, when I say move them, it could be yay or nay. Yes, I want to have a conversation, or no, I'm done. Please stop communicating with me. And that's fine. But most people don't do even 5 or 6, let alone 14. And so I look at a lot of folks out there and I say, look, you've got thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of prospects that you've been trying to market to. What percentage have been communicated with at some capacity or some level at least 14 times? And when I ask that question, less than 5% of people raise their hand and say that they're doing that consistently. Most are not. And that's the goal of our system, is to say, how do we make that happen? But if I think about it, doing 14 touch points would be impossible if I had to do it manually, right? Just imagine 10,000 contacts trying to manage 14. That's 14,000 touch points that you have to manage for a single list. No one's going to do that. You should just, as that meme goes, ain't nobody got time for that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's where the system comes in, right? It automates that. So we can automate those texts, those voicemails, those emails. All those touch points can be automatically happening so that you don't have to be doing that. You can instead focus on the few folks who raise their hand and say, yes, I in fact want to talk to you, and then spend your time on the people that are actually going to move the needle in your business.
Yeah, it's a great point. Listen, I'll be honest with you, man. Last year we were hitting just on the first turn before, and we would recycle our list and we were doing 5 touch points per turn. Next county back another 5, next county back another 5. And we were doing pretty good, but we were averaging somewhere around that 11 to 12 range where my assistant was out there texting them, sending them pieces of mail and calling them. It's just one of those things. If you're not constantly doing that follow up, which I'll be honest, as you get a little bit bigger, man, you know this already, but as you get a little bit bigger, and you just said it, I don't have time. I just don't have the time to follow up with folks. So yeah, that's an awesome capability, man. Dude, let's talk about how that integrates with your real estate company, your business. How does that prevent you from getting like a trash deal?
Yeah. So when we look at what we're doing, the most common problem I see investors run into, especially when they hit deal, it's 5 or 6, and then usually again around deal 11, and then again around deal like 17. And these numbers are rough. They're not always, but in that range is your first 4 deals. You're hyper aware of every little detail, right? Mm-hmm. And you're probably only doing 1, maybe 2 at a time. But probably just 1. And so you're aware of all the little details, everything you've gone through, probably the numbers, but like you're there. Usually around deal 5, people get a little cocky, and this happened to us too. It's like, hey, yeah, I got this one. This will be a good deal, and you'll start going. And what I found is that for deals 5, for all those points where we tend to have deals that tend to go sideways, and not everyone does, but I see it a lot. And the reason for that is usually not because of lack of knowledge, information, or experience. It's usually because of lack of lead or deal flow. Mm-hmm. You get to that point, oh man, like this is going good. I'm making money. Like this is good. This is great. I need to do more deals. So now all of a sudden you want to ramp up, but to ramp up, you've got to have more marketing. And most people don't push the gas down to the same speed that they want to go. So now all of a sudden they're going, okay, this one looks good enough. I'll do this one just because they want to do a deal. Like they're like, I got to do a deal. I got to do a deal. Like they're like in this like crackhead. They're like, oh, that was some good stuff. How do I get some more? And they're like, they go after it. And what this kind of stuff can do for you, what a great follow-up system and does is because your marketing can be automated while you're working on your deals and you're focusing on raising the money and managing the contractors if you're flipping the house or managing your investor buyers if you're wholesaling or whatever it's going on, your marketing is still working. It's still on autopilot. It's still happening on the backside. And because that's happening, when it comes time to ramp up your deals, right? All you have to do is ramp up the existing marketing or go to what you've already been doing and say, look, I've got a plethora of deals that I can pull from. Instead of feeling like I need to have a deal, let me just do this one. You're going, I get to do another deal. This one looks the best. And all of a sudden you start to avoid more and more trash deals. Now, is it going to be 100% guaranteed if you use our system, you won't get trash deals? No. That's not the goal. But the goal is simply, if I have more opportunity, if I have more availability, I should presumably have less bad deals because I get more to choose from.
Yeah, that's well said. And the one great thing about having a high quality CRM is not only does it prevent that specific instance, but it also allows you, number one, it's a force multiplier. So as a single person using it, you've just increased, it's like scaling. And then secondly, when you do get ready to scale, you just add your team members in there. Everything's already automated. So it's just dive into that for me if you don't mind.
Yeah. So let's think about the ability for you to multiply yourself. And I'll share a story of one of our users. I'm not going to give information because it's his private information, but he runs a successful flipping company. On average, they're doing around 70 flips a year. Okay. So this is significant. That's big scale. He's doing it with 3 people, him and 2 others. That's it. 3 people. Imagine being able to manage. Now, of course, like he's got contractors and he's got other, but from when we look at internal team members helping him execute this, it's 3 people. Why? Because the automations that he's built out and that we gave him in the system helped him scale that up to the point where he's got basically 1 person on the acquisition side. And because the systems are so dialed in, and he knows he's taken what we gave him as a base, and he's obviously modified it, right? He's got very specific messaging that works well for his market, his audience, the leads that he's doing. He's tweaked what we did, but he followed the same base systems. And because of that's how that works. And now all of a sudden, his acquisitions guy, 1 person, doesn't have to take 500 calls to find the 1 deal. Most of those are happening automatically to the point where he's only talking to someone who's essentially already pre-qualified themselves and said, yep, I'm ready to, like, I think his guy has something like, and I don't know the exact number, but it was high. It was like a 75 or 80% close ratio on the phone of deals because so much has already happened before they even get on the phone that they're never going to get on the phone unless they're basically a yes. And the ones that are not a yes are usually like not today, but I'll call you like in a month. And so he doesn't need a whole team of people because he's going quality over quantity, and the quality is happening through automation on the backside.
Awesome, man. That is absolutely spectacular. Now, how much AI is involved in that process?
For him, surprisingly little right now. And here's why. And this is actually something I do. I'm glad you brought this up. AI in real estate investing, it's just getting there now. And what I mean by that is this. So we're literally in the process of right now of building out a full AI seller bot that'll be able to have conversations. It's the first one of its kind that I've seen that I think actually is legitimately well done. I've seen a ton. They're all garbage. Literally, this is the only one and here's the problem. If I'm on a website and I'm doing e-commerce and I'm selling mouse for your computer for $35 or whatever, right? I can put an AI in that's half-assed and okay, and it'll be fine because the purchase point of that product is so low that people don't come to not expecting to have an in-person conversation with a human being about their buying decision for a $35 mouse. However, in real estate, when we're talking about, especially sellers, these are people who are usually in some sort of financial distress. So they're already not feeling good in the first place. Most of us at some point in time, or a lot of us anyways, have felt what it feels like to be in that distress situation. Number 2, their home is now up for grabs, if you will. And what I mean by that is they're going to probably have to leave in almost all cases. Otherwise, we're probably not going to be buying it, right? And that's never a good feeling. Imagine having to leave your home. You don't have any money. You're feeling stressed about that. You got family, whatever. Like, it's a very negative space for someone to be in. And now that same person is hopping onto a thing to talk to you about something that's super dear and personal and emotional and stressful for them. And it's a freaking AI bot. Do you know how pissed people get? They're like I've seen F you, like so many explicitives that your show would probably get pulled from Apple iTunes if I actually said it. And the reality is, of course they would be. Who wouldn't be, right? Imagine yourself in that situation, and all of a sudden I found out I'm talking to a bot, not even that I thought was a human being, that was pretending to be a human being. Okay, so this is why I use caution when it comes to bots for sellers in real estate specifically. Other things, lower price point stuff, sure, yeah, whatever. But in the investing space, and the same is true for a private lender. imagine a private lender is messaging with you about lending their hard-earned dollars to you, and then they come and find out it's a bot. Like, it leaves a bad taste in these folks' mouths. And so you want to make sure you do that. And then this is the first time I've seen one that I actually was like, man, this is good. Like, if I didn't know better, I would not be able to tell if this was not a human being. And AI is great, but you do have to you have to know its limitations. And in our space right now, this is the only one. And that's why, and by the way, you can't even just plug it in. It has to be plugged in through a CRM because it's the only way for it to actually actively do the things that it needs to do. So like I said, we're beta testing it right now with a handful of users, and it's going great for those who are beta testing, but I can't stress this enough. Use caution in implementing AI for communication standards. Now, using AI for creating blog posts or content or helping you with other things, sure, great. Yes, do it all the time. We do that already. In fact, we're actually testing right now an AI blog writing tool that, in no joke, in 4 hours, spit out 50 blog posts that are indistinguishable from a human being writing. And I'm like, dang, like imagine 4 hours, if not even like active work. Like, it took about an hour to set up, push a button, and 4 hours later, I had 50 blog posts good to go. That kind of stuff. Yeah, 100%. But when it comes to actually communication, like conversational stuff, I would be very hesitant to implement something without thorough testing.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey, do you need help running your business? I don't know what I would do without my executive assistant. Get outsourced solutions for every need by visiting Reva Global. Check them out now and get help for just about every aspect of your business today. From marketing through property management and even administrative virtual assistants. Check out Reva Global. The link is in the show notes. Yeah, I was just watching 60 Minutes the other day. The father of AI, who just finished working with Google, he was doing his bard.google.com, all that. And they have that system now, self-learning. It's capable of self-learning, that it actually wrote a story based on 3 completely separated ideas, integrated all 3 ideas, and actually had the announcer in tears because they did this whole heartwarming, heart-wrenching type of story. Nice. The AI was actually using reason as to why it was generating this based on that person's personality. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But
no, there's some good stuff. Bard has had a pretty big increase.
Yeah. It's been incredible over the past couple of years. OpenAI 4, I'm using ChatGPT 4, and there are so many different plugins that you can use, but it's still not 100% perfect. There's no me in it. Right. So when we're putting out those feelers, people can tell, they can tell, even if it's just an internal feeling.
Yeah. And so the other thing too, and you bring up a good point, and this is something else. At this point in time, AI is not the end all be all tool. It's simply a piece. And there still needs to be this level of human interaction in between the AI and your customers. And that needs to be there for 2 reasons. Number one, for review and making sure it's accurate. Because even though it's very good at what it does, it still makes mistakes. And it makes mistakes because it's either got bad information or inaccurate information. I've seen it quote stats that are not true. And so you got to just understand that that's the case. And then number 2 is that you still need some way to communicate this information out to your folks, right? Like, you can have all the greatest information, but if I don't have a way to email, text, voicemail, phone call, whatever, that information to our potential clients, our prospects, it's irrelevant to have. I can have the best AI tool in the world, but if there's no way for it to communicate with anything, it's pointless.
Yeah. Point taken, man. So let's just keep going with this. I know that you're integrating that and all, but what's on the horizon for 3 Degrees Consulting?
Yeah. So we're looking at a couple of things. So for us right now, I talk a lot about the 3 pillars of successful real estate investing from a digital standpoint. And we've talked about a lot of those. So one is great follow-up. That's huge, and I can't stress it enough. Number 2 is going to be a great website. We do websites for a lot of investors out there right now. We have a very low cost, effective template sites that we can build for you to get you off the ground quickly. And I really think that's going to be the future of what we see out there for the time being, because the reality is, look, you need to have a website. It's if you don't, what's happened in the last 3 years is because of COVID and everything's gone virtual, there's been a rise of, excuse my language, stupid 20-something-year-olds who are full of shit and don't follow through on their promises. And it's not just them, right? There's others too. I just see that in that space more. And look, there's plenty of other 20-year-olds that are fantastic. I know one right now I just had a conversation with. He's awesome what he does. Great investor. But the problem is that you have all these fly by the seat of their pants, just people who don't know what they're doing. And what that's actually created is we've seen a shift in 3 years, a massive shift from I don't want to work with big corporate companies to I want to work with local small companies. That's now come back, not quite to big corporate, but to I need to know that you're trustworthy and that you're credible. And if you're not, I'm not going to work with you. And the first thing they're going to look for, the first thing is going to be they're going to Google your name, Google your company. And if you're not found, you've already lost the deal. If you're found, but your website looks terrible, you've already lost the deal. Or worst case scenario, there's negative things out there about you, and then you've lost the deal. So you've got to have a great website, and I can't stress this enough. So we're focused heavily on that. And then the last part of what we're talking about a lot right now is creating what we call high value social profiles. So the reality is, right after they Google you, the next thing they're going to do is they're going to go to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever their favorite platform is for social, and they're going to look you up there. And they're going to see, what are you saying? Who do you talk about? What do you talk about? Do I align with your values as a company or do I not? And they're going to check you out. And the moment that they find that you have what we call low value social profile, you've lost the deal. And these three things come into conjunction to make your ability to close deals higher. So let's just say, for example, out of every 10,000 deal prospects that you upload, that you find, let's say 2 or 3 deals. That'd be pretty average, right? Out of 10,000 prospects. Okay. What we're finding is that when you use this trifecta of great follow-up combined with a high value social combined with an awesome website that makes you look good, you're going to close about 1 to as many as 3 extra deals out of every 10,000 prospects on average. So imagine all of a sudden you're doubling, if not more sometimes, your ability to close deals from the same list you already paid for just by plugging in 3 simple things that you should have been doing anyways. And as we look at that over the next 3 years to 5 years, depending on what happens with the economy, as trust of investors goes down, because this is what I saw in 2008, right? There was no trust investors. Investors were all scammers out there to just take your money and leave you high and dry, until all of a sudden it became anyone willing to buy my house, please just buy my house. Right now, I don't know that we'll get to that level again, just because a lot's changed between then and now in terms of inventory and things of that nature. But the reality is that credibility and trust will need to be established in financially hard times at a deeper level for you to close deals. And so if you're not already thinking about how do I build a high value social, how do I have a great website? Don't be on Wix. Don't be on GoDaddy. Do it better. Because if you go get that free, excuse my language, shitty website, guess what? That's what they think you are. Like, if you're not even willing to invest a few $100s into your web presence, then how are you going to invest anything into me as a potential seller or lender or whoever, right? And so focus on those things and you will see success long-term, especially as we go through this downturn, whatever that looks like for us.
Nice, man. They're serious words of wisdom, man. I tell you what,
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that when I first started out, because I was chasing my own tail a lot. But I got to ask you, Bob, now I know that you've been in this for a while, but what is one thing you learned as your wealth increased?
Ooh, so many things. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that I learned comes to getting out of your own way, which is why I wrote my book called Get Out of Your Own Way Now.
Yeah.
But within that context, because that's a broad thing, the problem that I always had for me was that I had shiny object syndrome. So I'd be like, oh, this, oh, this, oh, this, oh, this. And nothing really was ever fully developed. Maybe 85, 90%. So it's good, but that extra 5% oftentimes can make a massive difference. So if I look, for example, at 3 Degrees Consulting, we've only been doing this. I've been teaching internet marketing for years, for a decade or more now. Actually, I think it's like 11 years, coming up on 12. So I've been doing this for a long time, but I haven't been doing it for folks for that long. Like 3 Degrees Consulting has only really been in business, like actively, truly, for about 3 years, maybe 3.5 years. And what I realized is that as I double down on this business as the primary thing, we help more people, we earn more money, and it becomes easier and easier. Funny thing just happened. I was just at an event a few weeks ago, and simply by being who I am already and showing up consistently and not letting myself get my own way and get that shiny object syndrome, right? In a group of 300 badass entrepreneurs who are all doing way more business than me, almost not all of them, but probably 40%, 50% knew who I was, knew what I did, and sought me out at the event to ask me questions. And it's like, that doesn't happen unless you are consistent over time. And that requires letting go of your ego sometimes and stepping back and saying, I'm getting in my own way with that. How do I get out of my own way to do better in my business?
Awesome, man. That's a great way to transition. Fantastic nugget of wisdom. Thank you very much. Let's go into the soaring four. These are the same 4 questions that I ask every guest that can help someone who is just starting out achieve new heights. Question number 1 is, what is one thing that keeps you motivated?
One thing that keeps me motivated is lifestyle. I know I am hyper clear on who I am, what I stand for, what I want, and how I want it. And because of that, every decision is 100% in alignment with that. And because of that, I know that I'll get to where I want to go. And because I'm achieving the thing that is at my core, it's easy to stay motivated.
All right. Question number 2 is, what is one thing that you learned that completely changed your mindset?
One thing that I learned is that you got to spend money to make money. Especially in real estate, there's no money down and get started with nothing and all that. And the reality is, yeah, sure, there is some things there, but at some point in time, if you want to scale to something that's going to truly set you free, you're going to have to spend some money. And I face this when I talk about RCRMs. Oh man, $200 a month, $300 a month. I'm like, okay, you get one extra deal this year. Was that worth it? And like sometimes that mindset of like, yeah, I can spend that money. That makes sense. As long as I'm doing it the right way. It was a huge shift for me because I was cheap sometimes.
Great. Now, this is something that outside the CRM, I got to ask you, what are some tools or one tool that you use to keep Bob McIntosh on track?
Ooh, God, there's so many. Okay. It's a weird system for organizing all of my email because email can be a massive time suck if you don't like it. And we use G Suite, and there's a way to create alternate categories. So I can essentially have multiple inboxes within a single inbox just based on how I star or flag things. And that's how I keep things moving around so that I don't lose track of, I get 300 emails a day sometimes. And so it's like, how do I keep track of those things? That's how I think solid email management will make you a superstar.
Great. And what is one thing that you would change if you had to start all over?
If I had to start all over, am I the same age when I'm starting over, or do I get to be young again?
If you knew then what you know now, what would you change?
Yeah. If I knew then, you know what, honestly, without a doubt, double down on the internet. If I had understood even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the difference that the internet's going to really make on the world, I would have doubled down on that, tripled down on that, quadrupled down on that a long time ago. I genuinely believe that. And when I say the internet, like tools, systems, all of these things, right? These things are game changers for your business. And if they have been for the last 10 plus years, imagine as an entire 2 generations of people who grew up with technology start to come in and have the ability to play and implement and create. We're creating from never having this before. And this is what we've built. Imagine what having it from the day we're born will create in the next 10 to 15 years. Like it's going to be mind blowing what's able to be accomplished. And then throw in AI on top of that. Man, it's going to be game changing.
Yeah, I know you're going to know this, but I can't remember the name. What is the rule where technology doubles every so often?
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I forget the name of the rule. But it's every whatever period there's a
Now I happening. So I've got to cut this part out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just going to leave it in. But
no, that rule, like every so often technology doubles, and we're seeing that. And then, by the way, that space is shorter and shorter and shorter. If you look, what was it? Between when we first discovered that we can make water wheels to when we figured out we can make windmills was like 1,700 years. Same technology, just without the water. 1,700 years. Now think about in the matter of the last, the first iPhone came out in 2006. So we're coming up on 20 years. We've gone from a flip phone that just made phone calls to literally a device that does everything in our entire life practically.
I bought a laptop when I was young. Yeah. My parents actually got it for me. I was in, I think, 8th grade. It was the IBM PC Junior. It had 128
Nice.
kilobytes of RAM. This
Sweet.
thing is like 1,000,000 times faster than my first computer. It's just absolutely amazing.
And that's just in our lifetime. But now compare that to 1,700 years to develop.
That's in one decade
like,
of my 50 years of existence.
That's crazy.
That's amazing.
It's crazy.
All right, Bob, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, how would they do that?
Yeah. Best way to get a hold of me is to head to go3dc.com. It's GO, the number 3, .com /Bob McIntosh, spelled exactly like my name. So BOBMCINTOSH, go3dc.com /Bob McIntosh. On that page, you'll get links to all my socials. You'll be able to download my full contact cards. I got my cell phone, everything. So feel free to reach out to me. You can also, if you have questions about the CRM, websites, or anything digital marketing in your business, you can book a call right from there as well.
Excellent. Author, podcast host, internet aficionado, CRM developer, bank hacker. Dude, you've done a lot of stuff in a short period of time, and I really do appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me, and appreciate all of you listening in.
Thanks for being a part of the Aim High community. Your support drives us to create valuable content, and we can't wait to see your success stories in real estate investing. Till next time, aim high, never stop learning. Bud Evans, signing off. We'll see you soon.